Good morning, good evening, good afternoon. Julie from Story A Day here, and I am coming to you from early August 2026, where we are in the midst of all kinds of AI stuff, all kinds of everything just feels up in the air at the moment, doesn't it? So, how on earth are we supposed to motivate ourselves to keep writing? Why even bother in an age of AI and climate change and economic upheaval? Why even bother? I have to think about this because I'm already thinking about Story A Day 2027, and it's very clear to me that you could go to a chatbot and ask it for 31 writing prompts, and it would take it between 90 seconds and 5 minutes to churn those out for you. You could say, short story writing prompts, please, and you would get 31. And depending on how long you were willing to wait and whether you told it not to repeat themes or to work on a theme or not repeat ideas, but it might take between a minute and a half and 5 minutes to do what takes me months. I start reaching out to authors in January, February. I start collecting prompts. I start putting together, curating them, trying to put them in an order that's going to make it fun for you. I'm trying to make sure that all of the prompts will help you actually write a short story and not just be a writing exercise. I put it all together. I promote it. I do artwork and social media updates, and I send all the information to all of the authors who are contributing. And it takes me months, admittedly, of part-time work, but I have to think about, is anybody going to show up if all I'm offering is writing prompts? And you know I'm going to do it anyway. You know I'm going to be back, because I do believe that the human curated, the human crafted writing prompts where I can specifically write or ask somebody to write a prompt that is exquisitely tuned to everything we know about short story writing. And I do go to short story writers when I ask for guest prompters. I go to people who understand the art of the short story and who have demonstrated some facility with it through getting published multiple times or winning awards or all of this stuff. You could plug all that into ChatGPT and request what I go out and find. Yeah, you could. I'm going to do it anyway because I think it's valuable. Not so much for you, because you could go and look at 15 years worth of archives on the website, or you could ask an AI to recreate the best of what I've done. It's a useful discipline for me. I enjoy meeting new authors and interacting with them. I really love the community that builds during the challenge and the fact that people are chatting in the comments. It's not a vast community, and I like that. But I think you guys appreciate the hand-rolled flavor of Story A Day. But here we are in this moment where we all have to question, why even bother? It's almost inevitable that we're going to get to a point where AI-written fiction will be fine and it'll be readable. And for a certain mood that you're in and a certain demographic who wants comfort reads that aren't very challenging, or who want something new that's just something different, something that is exquisitely tuned to their existing tastes, probably AI fiction will fill part of that market at some point. I don't think that's something that is avoidable. I'm not saying I like it. And I will always say we need to regulate the companies. We need to regulate the environmental harm. We need to compensate the authors whose work was taken. We need to stop accusing those authors of sounding like AI after the AI was trained on their work. We need to figure this out. And I think there will always be a place for human written stories too. And some people will only read those, and some people won't care. And that's just how we are as humans. So why bother writing if Not everyone's going to want your book. Not everyone wants your book now. Not everyone ever wanted your book. Your book, if it's any good, your stories will not appeal to everyone. And the reward for writing isn't really the feedback you get when something gets published. It's a lovely high when you get an acceptance. It's really exciting when somebody reviews something that you've written and likes it. But that's really rare in the scheme of things. So why bother writing? It's hard. You spend a lot of time looking at your own shortcomings and being aware of what you haven't got right yet, and being aware of how your grasp exceeds your reach. No, that's not right. Your reach exceeds your grasp. That's the one. You're trying to do things that are hard for you. And that's the whole point. That's why writing is rewarding. It's hard. And we're learning. Writing changes you. It's all about the struggle, the striving, the research, the craft, the failure, the resilience to come back, the growth. It's about having a practice that you come back to day after day. Not necessarily every day, but something that is fulfilling for you. It's a personal development course at its finest. Trying to complete a written work will teach you so much about yourself. And sometimes the stuff it teaches us we don't like because it's difficult and emotional, and we don't want to face up to the fact that it's hard, and we go and doom scroll instead. And that never makes us feel better. So we come back to the writing because we know deep down that the struggle is worth it. Sometimes it's a joy, and sometimes it's a struggle. So I'm going to give you my best tip for you to stay motivated and keep writing, even in an age of AI, even in an age where it is difficult to make a living as a writer, which it always has been, by the way. You have to find the grit inside yourself to do this, but that's hard to do if you don't know what success looks like. If you think that you're doing all this hard work just so that you can get a publishing deal, and you're not getting the publishing deal, or you haven't got it yet, how on earth are you going to turn up every day? It's hard, and it gets harder when you're in the middle and things are difficult and you're this close from all your flaws and all the flaws in your writing and all the ways you wish it was better and all the I don't know how to fix this. The only way you get to come back to your desk every day is if some of that feels like you're making successes. And that's why I have been talking about this for 15 years. You have to define success for yourself, not ultimate success. You might have an idea of what that might look like, but you have to say, how am I going to feel successful today in my writing? Now, it helps to connect it to a longer term goal. So you might want to ask the questions in this order. You might want to go, in a few years, why am I doing this? Am I doing it to be published? Is it about supporting myself monetarily from my fiction writing, which is difficult, but not impossible? And if your answers to those things are yes, then your path to writing success is going to include certain tasks that will not be necessary if your answer to those questions of what success looks like, if your answer is something like, I am trying to build a daily practice because I always loved writing and I don't do it enough, and I think I'll enjoy it more if I do it more often, and I think it'll be good for me to show up more often for my writing. It's kind of an abstract goal. I think it'll be good for me in the long term if I show up for my writing isn't a list of tasks, but it is a definition of success. What will look good about that? I'll be like this, and I'll be the kind of person who does these things. And I think it'll make it easier for me to make decisions about those things. If your definition of success is, I'm writing, but people keep telling me they don't really connect with my characters, then your midterm vision of success might be, I'm going to write stories, and after I've written a few stories, working on the craft of creating compelling characters, I'm going to show a story to somebody and they're going to go, oh, I so connected with that character. I cried. And that's when I'll know that part of my journey is successful. If your long-term vision of success or your mid-term vision of success is just something like, I told my kids I'm a writer, I told my nieces I'm a writer, and yet they never see me doing it. I want to be the kind of person who shows that relative, that important person in my life, what it looks like to live a life that includes my passions as a priority. I want them to know it's possible to build a life like that. And so I want to be able to see myself doing it so they can see me doing it, showing up at my desk, finishing things, sending them out, getting excited about literature, whatever it is. If you've got somebody watching you that you want to see it, that if you see things like that, so if that's a vision of success for you, then you get to ask questions like, so what does that look like? What milestones, what tangible occurrences could I point to and go, that's a success on that path? The first time your younger relative introduces you to someone and says, oh, this is my aunt, she's a writer, that's going to feel like a success. And on the way to that, you will have weeks where you don't feel like a success, and you're going to have to find ways to find some success in that. And one of the ways to do that is to keep track of what you're doing and notice all of the things that you're doing. What does it look like on a particular day to be successful? You're not going to write complete paragraphs and complete chapters every day that you sit down to write. Some days you're going to go, I have no idea what I'm doing. And a successful day might be, you know what, I just remembered I bought a course that has a lesson about compelling characters in it, or I bought David Corbett's book about the art of character and I haven't read it yet. I'm going to put that on my calendar for tomorrow. I'm going to read chapters 1 to 3 and make some notes. That, and then tomorrow, when you pick up the book or you watch the video and you check off, okay, I did that and I made some notes and now I've got some ideas about my story. That is the kind of success that you need to be willing to rack up. You need to see those successes for what they are. It's not you wasting time. It's not you spinning your wheels. It's not you getting further and further from a theoretical publishing date. It's you taking the steps that you need to get your writing in shape. So your exercise this week from me is to define success, not in terms of what's your ultimate publishing goal, but think about if you look back at this time next year, if you look back at your year, how would you know it had been successful? What markers are there for your writing life that would feel successful when you look back in a year? What markers, what things need to happen to get you closer to being able to look back at the end of the year and go, oh yeah, that was actually quite a successful year? Is it submitting lots of things to publications? Maybe. Or is it allowing yourself to take a step back and take some courses? Is it the fact that you showed up once a week for an hour to work on that story that you're embarrassed you're still working on because you started it 10 years ago? Who cares when you started it? Nobody cares. Nobody knows. Nobody knows all the other stuff you've been doing in the meantime. You've been earning a living, you've been looking after family, you've been all the things that you've been doing in the meantime. Any day that you sit down and write is a success, and I want you to figure that out. And so I want you to make a list. Once you've done those things, I want you to make a list of what success could look like what would make you feel successful on a daily level. And I don't mean you have to write every day. I don't mean you have to be doing any writing tasks every day. I want you to be able to get to the end of a week and look back and go, did I do anything nice for my writing this week? And I want you to have an idea of what those things would be before you forget about this podcast. I want you to write a list of things that might feel successful. For some people, Things that I suggest as feeling successful: opening the document, actually getting to your desk on a particular writing day, will feel so beginnery and so behind where they already are in their practice that it will be irrelevant. So I can't tell you what will make you feel successful. It might be pushing forward to the end of the novel that you're writing now. It might be taking a step back and reading that book on character development. It might be joining something. It might be showing up regularly. I don't know. But I also want to make sure that you actually pause and notice on a regular basis what you're doing. This is something we've been doing in the Story a Day Superstars group. We've always had on the blog a monthly post that says, Swagger is our serious writers accountability group. And I've always encouraged people to come and post what they're up to and how they got on last month. And then I realised that's kind of, the time scale is too long and that people don't do it unless I'm staring at them. So in the Superstars group, I've started doing a weekly meeting since last October, November, where we get together every week and we think about all the things that we want to do in the next week and to the rest of our lives. And we pause and take a look back and say, what went well this week? And we do this together in a 45-minute meeting. There's no homework, there's no research, people just turn up, and it's just a space for people to take that breath and go, what did I actually achieve this week? And once they've done that, and we've talked about it a little bit, they move on to, okay, what am I going to do this week? And what would make me feel successful when I come back here this time next week? And sometimes they get those things done and sometimes they don't. But they get to take that breath and go, okay, so I didn't do what I thought I did, but what did go well? What were my successes this week? And then how can I adjust my practice to what's going on in my life right now, to what I'm learning, to where my priorities are, to where my interests are? And we do that together because I'm incapable of making myself stick to that kind of discipline. And it occurred to me that there are lots of writers who might be a bit like me and unable to make themselves do this incredibly rewarding practice every week, unless I was staring at them and looking slightly disappointed if they didn't show up or do the work. So I'm going to encourage you, but the thing is though, you can't, if you're having trouble motivating yourself to write, the chances are you don't know what success would look like for you, not in the long term, but on a daily basis, on a weekly basis, on a monthly basis. And the chances are you are not pausing to look at everything you did this month, this week, and go, oh, actually, I did show up for my writing 3 days. I did show up for that story once a week for an hour. I did do that over a period of 12 weeks. I'm not hopeless. And when you start to notice those things, you start to feel the success and you feel the growth and you feel the progress. But if you are living to somebody else's definition of success, it's going to be impossible to feel successful. And I know people who are doing this. They've got books published, but they didn't really define what would feel like success to them. They just chased the book deal because that's what everyone says. And yeah, it's nice, it's great. People are reading their stuff, they're getting awards, but they're also out of balance in their life. They feel like they're grinding, they're working 2 full-time jobs because they're earning a living over here and they're writing at night and they're worrying about their health. And could they have got the rewards that they're getting, maybe not as many books published, but could they have got some of that, award recognition, readership, without killing themselves in the process? I think that what we think success looks like is not always what is the right success for us. I'm not asking you to give up on your dreams. I'm asking you to actually drill down and figure out what your dreams really are. They might not change, but we don't get to have the big dreams and the big successes until we figure out to have the little incremental successes all along the way and to value them so that coming back to our desk is more fun every time. So yeah, I think you should be writing in an age of AI, regardless of what's happening outside your room and out there in the ether, and whether you're going to be able to make a living at it or not, I don't know. But I don't think it's ever going to be worthless, not worth your while, to sit down and play with your imaginary friends and tackle the difficulties and stretch and be decisive in your story, if nowhere else, and fail and realize you're still breathing and come back and find a different way around the problem in your story, which builds resilience in you and the rest of your life. Yeah. Do I think you should be writing in an age of AI? I do. So keep writing.
If you want to learn to write, don't read another book or article. Start writing. I'm here to invite you to consider the Story a Day 3-Day Challenge. It's a challenge and a workshop that gets people writing and completing stories in just 3 days. And it works. I'm fanatical about getting more and more diverse stories into the world, and I think yours should be among them. If you're feeling the pull to write or level up your storytelling, let me hold your hand through 3 days of short story writing. Check out the 3-Day Challenge at storyaday.org/3DC.